the NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of him.
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
All right, we have the legendary Yoni Rosenblatt joining us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled you pronounced my name properly. Thank you for that.
I do it routinely.
Yeah.
And you say thank you every time like it's the first time I say it.
Because it's rare. It is rare.
It is rare. So Yoni and I have been tied at the hip really since my first little calf strain August of last year. And panic mode, and Yoni's helped me mentally and physically from that point to now. And I still work with him, work technically for him, training kids at True Sports, an awesome, really all-inclusive strength and rehab palace. There's 12 or you're almost on 13, right?
Yeah, I like that. Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So it's great to have you on the show. Yoni and I have had this show once or twice a week already in person with no cameras and no mic. So that's the challenge again. People hear my show all the time. I'm fortunate to have all these awesome friends and I have to refurb all these same conversations. But I think what's really unique about Yoni, obviously you're elite at what you do and you're in a class of your own of the upper echelon of business savvy, savvy with how your actual work with physical therapy, high IQ, great relationships, man of faith.
Go on, dude. Just keep going. This is great.
I'm alluding to the crowd listening that we have some amazing conversations. It's a shame that it's 2023 and we can't have all those on air. We talk race, we talk politics, we talk religion, and you and I come from great places and all those conversations, and they're fine. But we're not the Joe Rogan show, so
yeah.
we can't dive into that. But I digress. So. Where do I start? Let's start at the beginning because how does Yoni have this vision that we have right now? Is this something you were growing up with your family as a kid, talking business, talking physical therapy, talking, hey, I'm an athlete, so I want to go down this avenue. How did you jump into this avenue where you are now?
I definitely didn't jump in. And it's amazing that you call me a businessman of sorts because I didn't set out to be that. And I know formal education around that other than as I've grown up, I'd say academically or my social circle has been very business minded. These are some of the stereotypes you and I usually talk about when we're under a bar, but growing up in this Jewish community, we're just always talking business and just trying to figure the world out through that lens. And so there was always chatter about it, but I went to school to really help people and figure out how to do that well. And I thought it'd be medicine, and turned out I suck at chemistry, and I'm decent at physics and biomechanics. And I've always been a sports geek. And so I fell into physical therapy. But again, I wasn't. It wasn't until halfway probably through graduate school when I started thinking maybe I could turn this into a business that's worthwhile. And that was probably more so a fact of, Jesus, I got a bunch of mouths to feed. I think I had my second kid, or maybe I just had my first kid in graduate school. And I'm like, how am I going to make this work? And that's probably really what got the wheel spinning towards business. And fast forward to now, I did not open True Sports with the idea of we're going to have X locations with X number of doctors of physical therapy and strength coaches. And that didn't happen. I think it's a slow evolution.
Really good points there. We'll unpack some of them. And the one thing I want to unpack, though, is helping people. Is that a family? Is that drawn from family? Is that drawn from faith? Is that drawn just from how it makes you feel?
I'd say mostly the latter, mostly the last thing you said. I think it's always made me feel good to try to help others. And what the hell else are we doing here, right? I always say, if I'm not in this business to make $1 million. It's nice if that would happen, but I'm in the business to really help people. And I'll tell you this much. I knew I'm a workaholic. I'm just a freaking lunatic when it comes to hours spent on work. And I figured that out when I was in undergrad. And I said, I'm not going to make time to help people outside of my professional life. And so how do I gear my professional life to allow me to help others? And that kind of like supported that physical therapy mission.
Yeah, the foresight to have that's always interesting. And it's amazing. I always find, now people can have success anyways, but the younger you are and have that clear-mindedness, this is what it's going to be. I'm not saying you have to have that clear-mindedness to say, hey, I'm only going to help people in my circle or whatever. That sounds, if you're mature, you'll understand that's actually very professional and you'll help more people that way instead of being spread thin.
Mm-hmm.
People have success faster when they have the clear mindset younger. And I know that sounds obvious, but there's discipline that comes with it on the back end or on the front end, I guess, to have that clear-mindedness.
How do you reverse engineer that? How do you get the people, because Colin, you're an unbelievable mentor. I've seen that with my own eyes. How do you get those who you are mentoring to try to have that vision, to try to come to that realization early, realize who they are, what their strengths are, and to capitalize on it?
I think results right away. Right away, and being upfront right away. Like when you talk about the mentorship stuff, everyone's like, well, how does Colin mentor people? Especially in Yoni's space, there's a couple kids in there that want to get recruited. And right away, I give them an objective and a goal, and they're both really obtainable. The first thing is text me your full name, text me your goals. Well, okay, I'm texting an NFL player. I'm texting a guy who's done all the stuff that I want to do. It forces them now to check those boxes, self of accomplishment, and then they get back to me in a timely fashion. That shows me A, there's some drive. B, they make time for these situations and value our relationship. So then I respond and help them get recruited or help them with whatever they need because I'll give them the time of day. It's amazing. And again, I'm off topic, but that's how this is going to go. You and I talk about this all the time. When I go speak at high schools, I write my number on the board. And there's been 10 people that have texted me probably at the 10 high schools and colleges I've spoke at. And I've directly affected them. And people may listen like, oh, Colin's patting himself in the back. No, I'm pissed at the other 100 that didn't. Because all I do is pass you along to somebody else and say, I trust this person. Here's what they want to do. What do you think? And now this leads me to my next topic with you is, why are there so many average physical therapists in the world? And you know what? And it's not a personal, it's not like a shot, but I've been across so many places, all in the NFL, XFL, AAF, 2 college football stops, a big time football high school. It's you're the elite of the elite. There's maybe 3 or 4 that I've worked with that are elite. Is it them being suppressed down by Big Brother saying that this is what you have to do? Or is it the lack of education, the lack of unification for the education? Like, so much to unpack there. I know, but it's frustrating on my end because there's not a lot of you.
Well, thank God. It's good for job security, but it's not, it's not PT, right? That's not the pathology of physical therapy. It's the pathology of people that they don't strive for excellence or for the next level. And that's why I asked you, the kids you're mentoring, like, what the F is wrong with the 100 kids that didn't text you? And how do we solve for that? And so that's one of the things I'm passionate about, like in my very small silo of how do I inspire or really just light a fire under the ass of PTs to say, like, man, I can get to this level. I want to get to this level. I love what you're doing. You're kind of making them prove it, right? You're saying, just, you got to text me. And that's like your barrier to entrance. Like, I don't know what it is that is the stumbling block or the barricade to people saying, I want to get better. I want to send that text message, or I want to do my continuing ed with True Sports, or do a student rotation with True Sports, or work at True Sports. But they're clearly barriers. I don't think it's, like I said, it's not industry specific. It's not football players. It's not physical therapists. It's humankind. It's people.
Yeah,
it's people.
100%. Yeah. And some of the best human beings are the best PTs or the best whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I always I always say, I always joke with you, or I just like, people get all hung up on school and where they're going to school. And a buddy of mine in town here, he's a local and he's, I think I want to be an agent. I'm going to go to school doing 3 years. I'm like, skip that. You already have your undergrad. Just join an agency right now. Go work for nothing, learn it, either find out if you like it or not, but learn it. And then while you like it and you really want to advance more, okay, well then go to law school online, but whatever, find a way to add finance in there, whatever it is, but go do it and stop delaying life with this school thing. Like,
Yeah.
why would I? Go ahead. No, I know it's practical. Again, I'm not saying don't go to school. You're going to be a doctor.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But so you're describing the problem of someone not starting their own, right? Or not sending you the text. In that instance that you just described, one of the reasons is, I would bet this agent's reason is fear. He's scared about failure, I would think, right? Is that the same issue? Yeah, we all are. Is that the same issue with the text? Maybe. Maybe they're not texting you because that schmuck's not going to get back to me or whatever it is.
I hate that. Everyone's like, "You don't have time." I'm like, "Oh no, I make time." I hate that.
I know, you always give me crap about that. I know. Don't count other people's time. My mom always said, "Don't count other people's money, but don't count other people's time." That's a good lesson. But if it's fear, how do we solve for that? Right. So when I'm working with employees at True Sports, and you tell me, you don't want to do X, you don't want to become a clinic director, you don't want to take this continuing ed. Well, what is it that's preventing you from striving for that? One of the things could be fear. Fine. How do we deconstruct that? How do we solve for that? I'll tell you, like, I was freaking terrified starting my own business. That's what you're describing, this guy, like, scared, right? So how did I overcome that? Well, I hedged my bets a little bit, right? So I have a degree. If True Sports doesn't work, I could go work I could work in a hospital. Someone needs physical therapy. Like, that's my fallback, right? So I did the work to make it a worthwhile gamble to do that. And that's what we try to do with True Sports, where it's like, if we have a clinician here, we're going to take away some of that fear and give you the opportunity to take off and take a risk and run a clinic, or almost run like your own business inside of this overarching business, by saying, we're going to pay you a salary and we're going to give you a bonus and we're going to help you with the overhead. We're going to do all this stuff. Now get rid of that fear, overcome that hurdle, and freaking take off. And that's what we got to do. We got to empower these people, right? So sometimes it's just speaking to exactly what we think might be holding them back. In this case, fear. That was a lot of words, Colin.
No, it's good. It's all good stuff. I mean, this is literally how I'm like doing a balance drill and Yoni's bouncing the ball off the wall, and we're talking about like this all the time. And I'm a talker, especially around in the football community. And, we have got your training guys in there, and I'm like so professional, like just talking to you guys in the middle of the training. Cause that's what I love about this world is it's a really cool advanced group of go-getters. Again, not advanced or smarter or whatever. I've seen guys come from nothing. I've seen guys come from everything and make it. But that's why I love it. I'm paying Yoni for the social side. Of course, the physical side too is the benefit, but it's really the social for me, especially being out of the league right now, trying to get back in. That value for me of being around those type of people and surround yourself with that is interesting. And even at the media company here, we have new people join us. Well, what do you expect from me? Literally, if you hit the gas pedal and say, I need more work, you got it. But I can't check in and say, are you ready for the next phase? Because I'm launching. We are launching. We're going. We have new shows. We are inheriting new people. So it's like the go-getters, I take really good care of them. And the ones that aren't, it's fine. They fall into their responsibilities and they kick ass and do an amazing job. But the ones that are, what more can I do? How can I do this? It's like, great. When and eventually for me, my goal is to turn this into a big media company where we have salaries and 401k and benefits, and we're not there yet. We're just starting. And that's the debate too. Like, oh, you should go back to school or you should do this. I'm like, well, I'd rather just start a media company and get my master's doing that. I'm going to figure out way more than sitting in a consulting class, getting my 1.5 credits for a full semester. And it's no disrespect to that consulting class. I learned a ton from it. It was great, but I'm learning a lot doing this. What's the number one thing for you've learned about managing people? Because I know there's a ton there, and you're really a general manager. You are hands-on. You are everything. You do everything from sweep the floors to hire the folks in your business. But what's the one thing that you've learned about managing people?
They're all different. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique. I just did a podcast on this myself with Chris Wormley, who's a defensive lineman last with the Steelers, and we were talking about what we think makes him so successful, and what he loves to do. Like one of his favorite things is to show that, hey, I don't fit inside of a box. Whatever you thought a defensive lineman was like, I'm probably not it. And the guy is super intellectual and analytical, and he's very humble. They're just, right or wrong, you might not assume that when you see a guy like that. And what it taught me, that interaction with Worm, was everyone is different. Everyone's different. You got to meet them where they are. So that's one thing I've learned in trying to manage people. Don't put them into your system, your box. Let them explain or show and prove what is their box. Who are they? What makes them tick? And everyone's different.
It's good stuff there. And I want to transition. I'm already laughing.
You're good.
You know what I'm going to say? Maybe
What
not.
are you going to say? What are you going to say? I have no idea what you're going to say.
What's it like training the great legendary Super Bowl
Colin
champion?
Thompson?
No, not on Super Bowl. Legendary Super Bowl champion Mike Burton. What's it like training a Super Bowl champ? You haven't even seen him. He big timed you probably.
Exhausting.
Oh my God, you're exhausting, Mike. I know you're listening to this saying, "Oh, you had Yoni
on
your
listening.
show."
He's not listening.
Oh, he'll listen. You have Yoni on your show? Oh, you haven't had me on in a while. I had him on like 4 weeks in a row. We had talked about nothing, Mike, because you think you think the Raiders are listening to what you have to say about the Broncos.
Say something, Mike. Say something. No one's listening.
Come on, Mike. You got great hair. Talk about your hair product. How much product?
Good hair.
How much product do you think he dumps into that thing?
0, because that would cost money.
Correct. That's a little joke. Great little shot right there, Mike. How much ground turkey does that take, Mike? I digress. So the reason why I'm with Yoni is my buddy Mike Burton, who I play with. He's the most dedicated, hardworking. Sacrifice is the most I've ever been around any pro athlete. Really, probably anybody that I've met professionally. Unbelievable. We met in the hot tub, in the sauna, in the weight room in Chicago, just kind of being in the same patterns. And if Mike and I were in the same room, that means I was in the right room, because Mike was working his ass off, really, truly. And he passed me along to Yoni when we moved to the Annapolis area, and it's been really great. And I owe him a lot to Mike, my agents as well. And he's an unbelievable guy. He's been on the show. A lot of people listen to him. He's our top show ever listened to here, actually.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm about to change that, but
you are.
But he didn't. Here's what's interesting. Mike didn't pass you on to me for rehab. Mike asked if you, Colin, would talk to me, because I was starting my own podcast, to consult with me on that, right? And so
yes, we talked for like an hour.
We talked for an hour, and you were unbelievable. I'm sure I was asking like a billion questions, like holding you on the phone, but you were unbelievable and so generous with your time, with your information, and with your experience. And I've seen you do that with kids around my gym. That it's awesome to see. And there's just zero ego there. And I think that goes a really long way. And I'm trying to think of like things that predict success. Like one is that, like, how well does a person know themselves to realize you're not the biggest deal. And you're definitely not as important as people think you are. And how do I live with that and be comfortable with that? So that type of humility. And then also this curiosity, dude. You are the most curious schmuck ever. And I love that about you. And I would say that also about Burton. Like, Burton's just like hounding me with questions about how do I think about this? What do I think about this? And I'm no one, but he's just a curious dude and just wants to learn and get better. And if he can meet someone in the performance space, he's gonna grill you. I think that's another just marker of success.
Wow, that's all really good stuff. What's been the common thread with all the pro athletes you work with? Because you work with, it's no secret, you follow Yoni on social media, you can see some of the guys that play for the Ravens, Panthers, Chiefs, right? You work with dozens of guys that are pro athletes, dozens of gals that are pro athletes, pro lacrosse, men's, women's, different sports. What's been the common thread, if there is any? Because everyone's different. You said it's all people, but what's made them more unique? It could be athletic ability, it could be mental mindset, could be sacrifice, but what's one or maybe two things that you've crossed in your time working with athletes?
The ones who are always looking for an advantage are the ones that continue to find them. I think it's that. I think it's what edge can I get? Usually that's how they end up with me. Usually it's not necessarily like a catastrophic injury. It's just a matter of, something doesn't feel right. How do I get better at this? But then the way they approach that is the way they approach everything. And then it turns into How do I get better at that? I'm reading this. I'm trying to learn this. I'm consuming information this way. I think that is one thing that just about everyone that has reached that level has.
Mm.
It is so rare. I can think of one right now, like on my roster of athletes that I'm lucky enough to work with, that it's like, dude, you're not that hard of a worker and you are just a physical specimen. It's totally different, but it's one. And he happens to be on this podcast. So that's the no, just kidding. But it's really rare. It's so much more common to find the Burtons and the Thompsons and the Campbells, whoever, just guys that just don't quit trying to turn over rocks to find something new underneath them.
Yeah, I think there's a healthy balance there. I've been with a lot of guys, but you know what? You're right, though. I'm still always turning over rocks. I know what works for me now, and I stick in that lane. It's really I know. Okay, this training camp, I felt this way. I'll add something new. Like a lot of it's based off of what what's accessible to you where you live. Like a part of your life is a part of that too. Like if I'm not living in this area, I can't be with you. There's no way. So I
No,
got to find
but there, you'll find someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
it's tough to do. And then I'm like, okay, I need to be in the pool. Well, back in Cape May, the pool's right near my house. So I was able to like be at the pool like 4 or 5 days a week. Now I'm at the local gym riding the bike. Like I hit an hour today, like you and I talked about, just adding more volume to my legs and more cardio stuff and trying to stay lean, but also put on mass is the biggest challenge. So when I'm doing a lot of cardio, a lot of running, a lot of swimming, I'm a great football player. When I like the one year had Christian McCaffrey on my show and he's like, sprint, just sprint. And I'm
that's what he
not
does.
built, and that's what he
Yeah.
does. And he's a world-class sprinter and he's in great shape. And it's him and I are way different I mean, not even the same thing. So I was like, oop, I don't feel that great. I don't feel like myself. To me, we have practiced at such high volumes playing tight end because of all your special teams reps too. There are so many of them and they're all high speeds. So I find myself swimming in my own lane a little bit more the older I've gotten. Yes, I'm going to add a thing or two, but I'm going to stay what does me well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that comes with experience, right? And like everything, it's a double-edged sword. Like if you start looking and just constantly seeking either quick fixes or more voices, it gets too loud, it gets too confusing, and then you're lost. You don't know yourself. I think it's the beautiful combination of, hey, I know what works, I know myself, I know there's more I could be doing. Let me just be judicious about tracking it down.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All good stuff. So, okay, let's see. What's next for True Sports? I know you guys have some things going on, a new facility possibly. I don't know if we can talk about that publicly, but you have some new things going on or what's been going on at True Sports.
Yeah. I'm really excited about two things. One is we just opened in Delaware a couple weeks ago, a beautiful facility with an outstanding strength partner, with Titus Human Performance, and that's in Newark and Wilmington, Delaware. A new horizon. We've been in PA, but we don't know anything about Delaware, and we're learning really rapidly. So that's really exciting. I think it's some really low-hanging fruit there and just some great athletes that need sports rehab. And what else could a sports rehab company want? So I'm really excited about that. It gives me a chance personally to try to manage remotely because I'm not up in Delaware as much. We got an outstanding PT up there named Matt Taxon, and that's great. Like it's a way to grow the business. It's a way to support him. He's been looking for something like this for years. I just love that, right? I love hearing that story of like, oh, this is my dream job. Awesome. And I'm trying to create dream jobs for everyone that we have. So that's one thing. Two is continuing education. I'm obviously insanely passionate about trying to help PTs become the best PT they can be. We're a couple weeks away from launching our first continuing ed course, which will be virtual, all about ACL rehab. I think we have such a unique approach. We've really dialed that in over the years. That's become a niche within a niche for us. And so we're going to launch that. And those are the two really awesome things that I'm uber pumped about.
That's great, man. You guys deserve it. I mean,
thanks, Kyle.
It's first class. It's really first class for all athletes at all levels. And there's also great places around the area, but you guys just do it a little bit different for sure. So, okay. Your faith mixed with this athletics thing is taking you to some really cool places.
Yeah. Dude, I think you did prepare for this interview. No? I don't know. I feel like you're just that good.
Dude,
like, for instance, how did you even know I was Jewish? How'd you know?
because we
How
work
could you?
together
How could you
every
tell?
day. You
Oh,
wear
there
a
you go.
yarmulke. We
I
talk
love
about
the
your.
way you avoid stereotypes. Yes, I do wear a yarmulke. That's
You
true.
do wear a yarmulke. We talk. I've learned a ton. You know, I grew up Irish Catholic, not really practicing Catholic. Went to Catholic school to play football. Would. But I'm very open minded with faith. You know, I have my beliefs. I don't really talk about them, make them public. It's really personal stuff. But I love hearing about it. I love
Yeah.
hearing about. So you're Orthodox.
Yeah. I call myself modern Orthodox Jewish.
Okay.
Um,
Can you explain what that is? Are you comfortable explaining what that is?
yeah. I'll talk about anything. So modern Orthodox means the two big, I'd say, delineators are I keep kosher, so I only eat kosher food, and there's a slew of rules around that. We don't mix dairy and meat. The animal has to be killed a certain way. There is no blessing on something that makes it kosher. So let me just dispel that myth. I get that a lot, amongst many other questions. So I keep kosher, and on Shabbat, which is every Saturday, it's our Sabbath. I don't work. I don't use electricity. I don't drive. That means I don't drive. I'm not turning the TV. We don't use money. And it's really like become a family day and a religious day. So I go to synagogue, but I try to do that every day. But I go to synagogue, you're around the family, the Jewish community, the Orthodox Jewish community, because we don't drive on Saturdays, it's very close geographically. Like everyone lives close because you got to walk to synagogue, or you got to walk to friends. So that's what it becomes. It becomes just people out about interacting, socializing, because they're not going to work. And I think it's done an awesome job for me of really distilling down what's important to me. And it really shows it's just that community and family that I cherish. And so that's been awesome. I'm really lucky to do that. I don't see like missing out on stuff. I see it as such a value add to life. So that's and the reason it's modern Orthodox as opposed to strict Orthodox is outside of the yarmulke, I kind of dress normal. You don't see me in like long black coats and white shirts. I have I'm part of the professional world. I work in this sports rehab setting, and that's just the more modern ideas that I'm going to integrate myself into modern society while holding on to some of these traditions that I see value. That's the Orthodox side. So modern Orthodox. There you go. That's me.
I love it, man. And I've learned a ton. That sounds like fun. What do you guys do on Saturdays? Like, oh, we go over someone's house and eat and drink and have a good time.
Yeah,
and
it's a good time.
And it's or whatever. You know, I just was like really blown away by it because I don't know, didn't know much about it. I think that's really cool. I think too, mental health wise, like I can work my ass off and know what's coming. Like I know, which is kind of what I do. I try to check out on a lot of the weekends, and have like 1 or 2 days of just like
I just
need a break. I just need a break from the phone, the media, everything. I mean, of course, I'm always working and talking and engaging. And for me, like even for me, like in the off season, I'll get back after being away or whatever, and I'm like, I just want to go grab a beer and just sit at the bar and like put my phone away and just I can go by myself. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying again religious and grabbing a beer, two different things, but it's a practice that I enjoy
maybe
doing.
Not. It is exactly, and it's a practice that I think probably keeps you present. I think that's such a difficult thing in today's society. Just being present and letting your mind quiet. Sabbath helps with that. So does finding some alone time at a bar or meditating, or whatever your practice is.
Mine's people. Like I just want to be around people, energy. That always drives me. Like it's always been. We talked about that. Me going to see you at the rehab wise, talking to all the boys. Like if I couldn't play golf, I couldn't play tennis, I couldn't be a race car driver. I wanted to play. My favorite sports are ice hockey and football. It's people, humans, everyone moving in the same path, teamwork. So, no, it's interesting. Now, there's so many good stories we've talked about over the years. Like over the year, I should say, we've known each other. I'm trying to think how to
It's been a good year.
It's been fun. So, talk about your experience. I think you worked the World Baseball Classic, right?
I did. I got to work World Baseball Classic. That was not this most recent one, but the one prior, 2017. That was in South Korea and Japan. And I'm lucky enough to work with the Israeli national baseball team, which came in 6th in the world. And they beat teams like Cuba and Taiwan and the Netherlands, which had 7 major leaguers on their roster. And so that was really awesome. and a great group of dudes. And by the way, awesome PTs. There is no reason I should have been allowed on that team, and here's why. I was totally a newcomer, and they had this vet. His name's Dan Rutenberg. He owns 1 billion clinics in Manhattan, the tri-state area. I mean, it is crazy how wildly successful he is, especially juxtaposed to the guy's humility. I mean, it's just nuts. There is no reason. I can tell you today, if I'm the chief PT for the World Baseball Classic, I don't need another PT, dude. I'm good. I can handle this. I can do the rehab, and I don't want anyone, lining themselves up to take my spot for the next one. Root was like, yeah, Yoni, yeah, seems like it. Yeah, let's let that guy come along. And so it was such a cool opportunity to learn from a mentor like that, who's so successful and so humble, and just giving me a crack. And that's like one of the few highlights of being able to spend time in Asia. I'd never been over there. A close second would be watching Sammy Fold, who's like, now he's the president of the Philadelphia Phillies. Have you heard of that baseball team?
I have. Or that, 3 days a week.
There you go. So Sammy Fold, what a freaking mensch that guy is. So he was a center fielder on that Israel baseball team. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so like a highlight was watching that guy, like us stopping at a rest stop on our way up to look over the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, into North Korea. And on our way up there, which is like the middle of nowhere, us stopping and pulling over. And Sam Fold, God knows he could have afforded better, just like very excited to purchase like a bag full of live insects and start throwing them down his throat like they're popcorn, because that's what you do in South Korea. So little tidbits like that. That was awesome. I also got to go to 2020 Olympics with the Israel baseball team and spend time in Tokyo preparing for that and working through that. That was really awesome. So lucky on all fronts with that, Kyle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you
You know who was impressive there? Dude, you know who was so impressive? So have you had anyone on here that's like been to the Olympics and been in the Village, anything like that?
No, I heard the Village is nutty, though.
It's nutty, Colin. I don't know how you would handle yourself. I know how you would handle yourself. How would Nick Moore handle himself in the Village?
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I know Mike Burton would. He'd be doing push-ups every night. He'd be ripping his eyebrows out, watching people eat pizza and drink beer.
Just another day for Mike Burton. So what's his name? Djokovic was incredible in the Village, and everyone's there except a lot of the U.S. basketball. I think the U.S. basketball team was not there. Federer was not there, but Djokovic chose to stay in the Village with everyone else, and he's just walking around the CAF in line, and it was crazy to see everyone in there is an Olympian. Seeing them line up to get a selfie with Djokovic, to talk to just like be around Djokovic, and conversely, to watch the way he handled that. I mean, cool as a cucumber, just like unfettered. The guy didn't probably rest. He's competing for medals. God knows he's won enough, but totally fine with anything, anyone. I had a conversation with him. I passed by him. It's funny, we're talking about Shabbat. I passed by him and he's like, "Hey, Shabbat Shalom." And I'm like, first of all, isn't that Djokovic? Second of all, how the hell does he know what that even means? Which is Shabbat Shalom is like, have a good Sabbath in Hebrew. So I stopped and talked to him, and the dude's like talking to me. He said his agent was Israeli or Jewish, and just like, but the fact that he gave a damn enough. You talk about connecting with everyone else. By the way, this also seems to be a theme, your ability to connect with those around you. Kyle, I've seen you do it. We've already talked about it here. I was talking to Kyle Harrison on my podcast, the way he met Kobe and the way Kobe was able to just lock in on people and remember and just say something that made them realize that they mattered.
And it goes back to the curiosity, though. Like we're talking through this without doing it, of the great athletes. Like Djokovic, he's curious. Like
he's curious,
and you don't just say Shabbat Shalom. Like you don't just say that. Like you have to be curious to figure that out. So
yeah,
you should have seen me this weekend at the wedding too.
First of all, forget the pronunciation of my name. Your pronunciation of Shabbat Shalom was
I
Gold.
watch Wedding Crashers, my favorite movie of all time. I just was Vince Vaughn at the wedding. My wife's looking at me like, "You're jacked up." I'm like, "I'm a proper mensch. You kidding me? I'm ready to go, baby." It was great. I learned a ton. I'm just I love the religion. I do. It's been so much fun learning about it.
Mhm.
And then at the wedding, they're up there getting married, and who would it be that would be given the blessing?
Yeah, it could be anyone. I mean, you call up different people. It might have been a rabbi of some sort.
It was a rabbi. Perfect.
Yeah.
Rabbi's up there, and he was like explaining it. This is how we do it in our religion, and here's why. It was just very
Cool.
open. Everything just felt like a hug. It
Yeah,
didn't feel
that's
like
cool.
this is what we do. A lot of where I grew up, you got to do this. It's like, wait, what? Hold on. These people? I thought we accept everybody, but this is what you're saying. Hold on. I really struggle with that. That really bothered me. But I digress.
I think that makes sense. Don't digress. Before you digress, I would say one of the things that I really appreciate about my religion, which I was totally born into, it's not like I chose it, is that we're good with Colin Thompson believing Jesus died and came back, and you're being Colin Thompson, you're being Catholic, or you're Muslim, or whatever you are. Jewish people are okay with that. You don't have to be Jewish. I don't care if you're Jewish or not Jewish. You do you. We're really kind of close is a bad term, but like we're just okay with that. We're okay with people not practicing our religion. I don't need you to practice my religion. It doesn't help me. And I think that just lends me the ability to be like, this is what I do because it's meaningful. And I'm excited to learn what other people do because it's meaningful to them. Yeah. Maybe that's why it felt like a hug.
Yeah, it did. It felt great. Again, it goes back to the curiosity, and I think that has a lot to do with people's success. Again, question asking, strong listening skills. We always can work on that. Yeah. So, okay, man of faith, Dad. How many kids do you have?
3 kids, three girls. 14, Layla. Maya is 10. Noah is 7. And in my house, I call them Tuna, Bubbles, and the Reverend. And those are my kids.
I love it. I love it. Now, does anybody have a phone yet in the house?
Yeah. Layla, my 14-year-old, is constantly doing like some type of selfie face. It's really tough as a dad to like watch that selfie face form. One of the reasons also, like Shabbat is so powerful, like you can't use your phone, right? So yeah, it goes away. It's off, and you learn to hopefully talk and interact like a human. But let me digress, Colin Thompson. When do you think you're going to have kids?
Oh, wow. We're going there on the show. I'm the one answering the questions about. No, a real good podcast doesn't start until the guests ask questions back.
Oh, I like that. Put that on a t-shirt.
Talk to my wife. I gotta, you can ask her when you
get her on. Can you patch her in? She's probably in the back. She's a great physical therapist herself.
She's some geriatric physical therapy. So she's up in wherever right now, helping someone walk up the steps, pick up a laundry basket, God's work, as they say.
God's work, not this sports crap.
Yeah, no. Yoni's helping me jump up on a box, and they're saying, "Good job, you just got to land a little firmer." Okay, great. Meanwhile, Betsy can't even get out of her seat, and Sid's like deadlifting her out of it. Yeah, changing her life. So, no, that's a private conversation. We don't talk about that on air like this, Yoni.
No, we don't want to do
that. Okay, so your family, you have a large family. You have a full day, if not parts of your day for your religion.
Right.
Massive growing business, massive. 13 locations now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like to do for fun outside of that?
Good question. I'm actually trying to work on that. I am not awesome about having hobbies. And so I like to read. So I'm, diving into that and trying to just get away from business work, right? Or business books, because that's not really a hobby. So reading some history, I enjoy learning about that, reading some health books for my own health, and learning about that. So that's one thing that is a hobby of mine, I'd say. I picked up the guitar for like 16 seconds. I would love to get back into that. I think there's something unique about learning a skill that you could have for the rest of your life, forever. And so I'd love to spend more time doing that. Yeah.
What about sports though? Are you break? I mean, I know. Again, a major sports day is Saturday, and
Yeah.
now if you leave the TV on, can it stay on?
Technically, it can. The last time I did that,
You can't look at it though.
did I tell you this? The last time I did that was I think it was 1996. The Orioles were in the playoffs. Who were they playing? I think they were playing the Yanks. There was a ground ball to third base. Todd Zeal picked up that ground ball and went to throw it to first. And there was a guy on third. He started going home. Todd Zeal tried to hold it back and just spikes it into the ground. This is Friday night. I left the freaking TV on and I'm watching with like my entire family. He spikes it into the ground, run scores. Orioles lose. John Miller, who's now the play-by-play guy for the Giants, like one of the best voices in baseball, goes, "That is the worst play I've ever seen in my life." He gets fired. Orioles manager gets fired. Orioles go on to lose losing 14 seasons in a row. And it's because I left the TV on Shabbat. Anyway, yes, that's I miss out a lot on college football. I don't get to watch a lot of college football.
Yeah, we get to watch the night games. I mean, you got to watch them like 8 o'clocker. You diving in the NFL like everyone else is on Sundays? Like, are you guys around the couch, or is it just on in the background, or what's the deal?
Yeah, it used to be like all in. Like we would tailgate at my house. We were like barbecuing outside my apartment back in the day, and like the entire community's coming over, and then we would watch at my house. And it was like would ruin the entire day, but it was the entire day. And then you get kids, and I started to get away from that. I'll tell you, like working with guys like you, Kyle, have made me less of a team sports fan.
Why so?
It's because I work, I'll work with some Ravens, and then I'll sit down on Sunday and watch the Ravens with all my buddies. And my buddies will be like crapping on my patient who I know he's working hard on Thursday. I just saw him on Thursday. I know he's working hard. They're like, "That guy sucks. Like, look at him. He's so slow." I'm like, "Dude, that guy can barely walk. I saw him on Thursday. Can't walk. Why is he on the field?" And it just brings you like this, just a different view. And then you see the organizations screw these players over. And you're like, that guy's a great dude. Like, I can't believe they did that to him. So I feel like the magic has kind of been stripped away. What do you think of that? Anyone else give you that take?
Well, it's interesting because I get it. I'm a fan. I'm a hockey fan. So I watch the Flyers and I'm like, come on, man, you got to make that pass. Like your effort, blah, 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 but I get it with football. I'm very tough to watch the games with because I'm going to tell you you're wrong about 90% of the time. I work on that.
So I love that. Yeah, work on that, I guess.
But I try to be sensitive
to
it. I try to be sensitive to it.
Yeah, but that's the stuff I want to hear as a sports fan. When I tune into the Colin Thompson show, I love it because you're giving me a behind the curtain glimpse of what's actually going on. What are they actually talking about? What is a halftime like? What is off-season training actually like? Not this like talking head crap, guys who have never played the game. They don't have the insight. And it's, dude, that's the same as me pontificating on the couch. I don't know anything. I'm just a fan. So that's what I appreciate about what you do.
And fans are great. My dad gets wound up about them. This guy's at the bar. I'm like, Dad, hold on. My check was this last year. That's why it's that.
Right.
That's why it's that. So that's a good thing. And I laugh through it, but I get what he's saying. He gets annoyed, right? Because he knows what he's talking about from a lot of what I'm saying. Football, it doesn't look like whatever you see is usually not what is really going on. So, and another thing is the 10% rule. And I'll talk about it tomorrow on another version of my show, but 10% of what happens. Yeah. 10% of what happens in an NFL building gets out of it. But we watch the media and what we see as fact. And I get caught up in it too, even in the off season. But when I'm in the building and I'm seeing things outside the building get reported, I'm like, man, only if they knew that 90% of it, they're not even talking about.
I love that.
The media comes in the locker room and the guys pretty much like blow a whistle and everyone like stops what they're doing and stands in front of their locker and says the same thing. And then it's back to chaos again.
Kyle, let me ask you this. You think that's just sports, or do you think that's life?
Well, that's a great point. Once you close the door, or why people have drinks or smoke or whatever, so they can be themselves a little bit more.
Right, exactly. So I think it's broad life. It's definitely politics. Like, you think we actually know what the F is going on in that White House? The whole thing's a charade. if you
we have
will.
no idea. And
You have no idea.
And yeah, I mean, and we can get into the whole media thing. That's a whole nother can of worms with you name it. The TV shows that talk about the quote unquote news. It's like, this is
Right.
so driven negativity and not the truth. And again, I'm sure it is the same way, 10% of the truth, but people aren't reporting on the news. They're reporting on what their thoughts are. And then people are breaking it down and talking about things, and it's emotional, and there's always more baggage. It's like, this is not even fact. Like, it's the same thing with the NFL right now. It's silly season, I call it. Again, we're recording this June 27th. This will come out in July, middle of July, but it's silly season. It's like, again, I did my ranking the top 10 Philly athletes the other day because it's the athletes. Everyone's like ranking their top 5 athletes in Philly and leaving Joel Embiid off the list. The guy's a top 5 athlete in the world, period.
Right.
It's like LeBron, Giannis, Usain Bolt, and Embiid. Like
that.
Wembanyama, whatever his name is, like Victor. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like so my whole thing to all this is all clickbait mafia. Like, I just can't even stand it. But I get it.
I think, yeah. I mean,
I try to avoid it at our media company. I tell our guys, like, no,
it's hard to do, but remember, but here's what's interesting. You can edit this out because this is like a little bit putting you on the spot, but it's ready. Like, how do we start this conversation? We started the conversation, and I do this on my own podcast. Like, I'm going to self-censor and say, I'm not going to talk about these hot topics that could get me in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing you said is like, hey, okay, we have conversations in the gym. Those look like this. We can't dive into all those. Well, that's
a shame.
It is a shame. It's the world we live in, and it's
the rules we have to play by. And you know what? I tell people, play by them. But you know what? The ones that don't play by them, they're the ones who get paid. Joe Rogan.
The ones who trickle
Sports.
up to the top. You're right. But
Pat McAfee just rips it up.
But my question is, how many, let's say McAfee's or Barstools, how many of them started and didn't become Barstool for whatever reason? That they got canceled. They couldn't get their way out of it. You can't find them. They're gone. I think a lot of them. I would guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think
maybe
I think what bothers me is, like, you say you're a fan of Joe Rogan, everyone's like, oh, you voted for this guy. You're this. You're that.
That's like, insane.
Wait, what? I just like his show. I think his show's great. Colin Thompson, enjoy listening to the Joe Rogan show. Do I listen to every episode? No. Right now, I don't have the bandwidth. I'm probably listening to 1 out of every 10. I'll be honest. A lot going on in my life. I don't have time for it. But in season, when I'm traveling a lot and we're on airplanes and it's relaxing, it's informative, whether you like something or don't. I've learned a lot of different things. I've helped me as a podcaster. Yeah. You think Joe does a lot of prep, but you think he's sitting there reading questions? No. It's all a conversation.
Yeah, he's paying attention. You're right.
He's really like, okay, tell me more. So, right, Howard Stern, all the opposite side. So I mean, he's super successful, you know. Well, but again, it's just the shame. Like, we can't come on here and give our own piece and talk. And you know what? It's the rules you play by, and I have no problem with it, because I hate when people complain about these are stupid rules, but they are the rules. Everyone's got to play by them, and that's okay. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about there, but
yeah. Because I think if you got to weigh, like, if I don't play by the rules and for whatever reason I get myself in trouble, and you never hear from me again, is that a net win for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish? Obviously not always.
No, it's not. And especially, the one thing on a lighter note, the one thing I'd love to do is give my real opinions about football, and I can't, because I may end up with one of those teams. I always keep that back in my mind, and that's okay. That is fine. But when I'm done, I look forward to
coming out. It's coming out. But here's what I love about talking football with you, and that is your wide-ranging approach to how you would put together an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I love that because it's nuanced, and I think you talk about bringing in experts in their given lane and getting them to coalesce around a given mission or theme. So if you had to construct the ideal coaching staff, what does that look like, Colin Thompson?
I think there's a lot of ways to do it.
First of all, Colin, what are you? in 5-10 years, if you're still doing not for long, but if you got a job in a building, what's your job there with an organization?
Like my dream job in a building.
Yeah, what are you best equipped to do?
Probably general manager.
Okay, so great. So
not even
you're a
general
GM.
manager, like I'm going to pick the players, but like relationship building, cohesiveness, connecting folks. I don't know what that is. I have tons of passion for offensive football, and I'm pretty much an offensive coordinator for a high school football team right now. Consultant maybe of how I would do it. I don't know.
Full-time gig, you're a GM.
I would say GM. I mean that humbly too. I mean that humbly. But
okay, so how are you putting together that staff?
I think there's a really interesting debate in the NFL right now, what you're doing with the head coach. Because a lot of people think the head coach does a ton, and this head coach not up to snuff. It's like, have you looked at the roster? Have you looked at the coordinators? They're the folks that drive the bus. The head coach, if they're not a coordinator, if they're not calling plays of defense or offense, their job is to just keep the bus moving forward, organize everybody, take the blame when things are bad, pass the good stuff out when things are going good, and give everyone else credit, and organize the group. Have a consistent message, be quick, be clean, be clear, and keep it moving. A lot of people can do that. What's hard is doing that and calling plays. That's hard. You need great players in this league, period. You need elite quarterback play. You need elite offensive line play. You need one stud receiver. You need another stud tight end. I mean, right? You need a lot. But my point is something's got to give somewhere, and someone's got to make up the gap of, hey, I'm making X. You got to be, say you make $1 million a year, you need to be playing like you're making 10. Like Patrick Mahomes makes $100 million. He's worth $1 billion. So how would I set that up? I think I'd have the problem is, right? Like if I say my opinion, that means people will look back and see how I did things and say, or places I've been and say they're wrong. Like, for example, I hire an offensive coordinator as a head coach. Everyone say, well, Coach Rule was an offensive coordinator. No, I think Coach Rule's had major impact in my life. He's literally one of the best things, if not the best thing ever to happen to me. So, and not because he got me a job or because I played for him at Temple and he gave me a scholarship. No, because he taught me more lessons about life, coaching, leadership, mentorship than anybody can times 1,000,000. You couldn't even put a number on what he's done for me. If you pay attention and take notes as a player, you just free lesson together of leadership and program building, that role. So that's separate. But I would hire an offensive coordinator that's a head coach and allow him to call plays.
Wow. Do you give him access? Do you let him dictate anything that has to do with the roster?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
But you have final say as a GM.
Because it's offensive league now. It's an offensive league. You need a pass rusher. You need 2 pass rushers, a good interior guy. Your running backs are devalued. Your linebackers are devalued.
But okay, so yeah, I was going to say you need a bunch of great DBs. Wise.
Yeah, but you do, but like you can't, because even if they're playing well, they're going to get called for pass interference. It's like doesn't even. You got to make stops. You got to make big plays defensively and create turnovers. But other than that, people are going to get their points. It's going to happen in this league. If you're not getting your points, you're wrong. So it's just the way of the game now with RPOs and all that stuff. So I would hire an offensive head coach. It's a great question. And I would make it an offensive football team. I would, because that's just the way of the league. I would love to run 22 personnel and big tight ends and fullbacks and play great defense and beat the shit out of people. I would do it. I love.
You know what that would make you? That would make you last year's Ravens.
It's interesting too with the Ravens. Like, again, who's healthy for them? Who's been healthy? You look at a team and say, "Look at this coach. Look at this person." It's like Greg Roman gets destroyed for the pass game stuff. No one was saying a word when Lamar won the MVP. Pass game was great. So it's all Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. I hate to tell fans that. So you need your head coach to call plays, my opinion, or have someone the head coach really trust call plays. That's what I would do. And that's a good question, Yoni. I've had a lot of time with my injuries to sit down and go through things if I did it and what I would do. But we'll see, man. I don't know what I want to do. I think it goes back to you can talk about this, like, what would you do if say someone's like, hey, you're going to run the building. How would you handle that with your faith? Like physical therapy wise, like say you're going to be the director of health. I'm Colin Thompson. I'm the GM. You'll probably be my first call, if not one of my first 5 when it comes to the health side.
Thank you.
How would that work with your faith? Got to work on Saturday.
I don't work on Saturdays.
Yeah. So you have to be off Saturday. How do you get to the? You wouldn't travel with the team then?
Yeah, because you guys go on Saturday. Yeah.
Home games. You work Sunday.
Going to home games. Yeah, I'm going to home games. Listen, this is it's something I put a lot of thought in. It used to be my dream to work in house. I probably dodged a bullet because it actually seems brutal, and miserable. And you want to get to the point where you're not the one necessarily holding the athlete's leg. Like you're not stretching the hamstring, but you know how to put people in place to do that or to maximize performance. That's kind of what I've gotten to and what I enjoy doing at this point. So to answer your question, no, I'm not coming on Saturday.
I think you could do it, honestly, because Saturday's a walkthrough day. It is what it is. You probably could. Of all the things like professionally that would be a hurdle in the NFL world. It's like, all right, I'm going to work. Yeah. No, you could do it. I bet you could.
Listen, if I were the best person for that job, then someone would ask me to do it. I don't think Saturday would necessarily be a deal breaker, but you never know. Thank God I got this true sports thing. Keep me busy.
Yeah. Well, to finish the conversation, I would, I think some sort of OC would be the head coach. You got to be aggressive early. You only got a 2-3 year window. Maybe you have to win right away. The hardest part when you get those jobs as a head coach, GM, the teams aren't very good.
Yeah.
So you have to take big swings right away, and you got to move the meter and hope to acquire, free agents down the line that are veterans that want to play for less because the team's winning or trending in the right direction. And then
you got to do something. My old school high school basketball coach used to say, you got to make mistakes of commission rather than omission, right? You can't just sit there and not do anything and hope for the best. Like every GM gets fired. Every GM gets fired, right?
And they're all really good at their jobs too. Like I hate to say, I mean, some are better than others, guy, obviously, but it's interesting. And then I think we go back as we finish up here and go to the PT side of it, because I have rehab with you in 30 minutes and we're running an hour.
Yeah, you better be on time. It's because you know how to talk, Kyle.
Well, no, we just been BSing. This is great. No prep, zero prep. It forced zero agenda, but it's different than your show. You need to have some sort of guidance because you got people on there like ACL specialists.
My favorite thing about your show, I'm glad you asked, is your fan impression. I love when you do fan impressions. Like the way you imitated the guy in the bar cheering. It's so good.
Come on, get rid of the ball.
yes, that.
I mean, this quarterback is just holding the ball the whole damn time. I mean, you got to release it. Come on. It's like, what? The guy's not even open. What are you talking about? The left tackle fell on his face and he got sacked. What do you mean? Like, I hate when people are like, man, Sam Darnold really struggled. Did Sam Darnold struggle? Or I missed my block, got thrown in my face, and then Sam Darnold had to scramble and throw it up in the air. It's like, did you watch the same game?
That's why you're in the booth. That's why you need to be in the booth, Kyle.
Yeah, I know. But I would finish with this. As we finish and round out the facility, you need an ass-kicking medical staff and strength staff, and they need to be tied together by one person. Someone needs to be a strength coach and a PT. That's what builds up your staff. That's the head of it. Then you need a strength coach. Then you need a PT off of it, and they need to coexist. So you're doing physical therapy while you're lifting, and while you're in physical therapy, you're lifting as well. So you're doing all those things at once.
We gotta tear down these silos. That's what we got.
Old school football is dead. Ice and STEM is killer. People care and work their ass off. That's not what I'm saying. But the old school rice is done, and that still happens.
It still happens. It's nuts. I see it every day.
The problem is people take it as like, oh, coming at their work. No, I'm coming at the old club here of it needs to be. The problem is the leap of faith. It's a leap of faith, and people do what they know because you only have 2 to 3 years or you're gone. Your dream job is out of your fingers. So what do you got to do? Take a leap of faith and say, I'm going to trust this thing that's never been done before in the NFL?
Yes. The answer to it is yes.
Do it.
I love it.
Oh, man, that's great. It's good stuff. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We had a blast per usual talking, and we'll have episode number 3000 in 30 minutes here as I'm going to be with you lifting, lower body, rehab, you name it.
Yeah, some explosiveness. I got some explosiveness, a little bit of change of direction work with really an intrinsic focus, like really trying to get those muscles all around your foot to kick on and do their job. Can't have a broken foot. You know what I mean?
I do. I've had a couple. The great Yoni Rosenblatt, a proper mensch.
Thanks for
and
having
a good
me, Kyle.
man and a good friend. Thanks for coming on, buddy.